Hello, and welcome to the panel, Insights from Industry Leaders on the Future of Additive Manufacturing. My name is Scott Schiller, and I'll be moderating today. With me today, we have Francois, Philippe, Guido, and Karsten, as you can see. Gentlemen, if you would you like to say a few words about your role in your organizations? And we'll start with Francois up in the upper left corner.
Hello, so my name is Francois Minek. I'm currently the CEO of BASF 3D Printing Solutions, which is the 3D printing arm of BASF, I would say, dedicated to developing and selling products for all technologies of 3D printing industry.
Okay.
Hello, Philippe Leonetti, happy to be with you today. I'm the CEO of Viaccess-Orca. Viaccess-Orca is an Orange company delivering end-to-end TV solutions to operators, securing the content globally. So it's what we are doing today mostly.
Very good. Guido.
Hello to everybody virtually connected. Scott, thanks for inviting me. My name is Karsten Heuser. I'm the Vice President for Additive Manufacturing within Siemens. So my role is, on the one hand side, to lead the Siemens user part of the additive manufacturing business, as well as the software automation and digitalization service provider part. Our mission is to industrialize additive manufacturing with machine builder and machine user to generate an end-to-end integrated solution.
Great. And Guido?
Yes, thank you, Scott, and good morning or good evening to the audience, wherever you are. My name is Guido Degen. I'm working for powder metallurgy, GKN Powder Metallurgy, since 30 years. I have the privilege to lead and grow the additive team, which have two brands, Forecast 3D and GKN Additive. And our mission clearly is we want to be a leader in additive product solutions from plastics or from polymer to metals. And yeah, we want definitely to grow that business into production.
Very good, very good. So before we begin, a few housekeeping items. Check the supplemental content in the top right during the section. And if you think of any questions you'd like to ask the panelists, please ask them in the chat window on the bottom right corner of your screen, and we'll make sure to answer those at the end. So with that, we'll go ahead and get into the content. The way we'll do this is I'm going to ask a series of questions, and then various members of the panel will respond. But I would ask that we keep it very natural and flowing, and if people want to add content, feel free. So let's start with the basics. How do your companies view the opportunity of additive manufacturing from a strategic perspective? What does your company, or maybe complement that with what your company does in the realm of Industry 4.0? And maybe for that, let's start with Guido.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. You know, we as GKN Powder Metallurgy, we are a global business. We are pretty much focused on, we produce metal powder and we produce parts out of the sinter process. And, you know, we have decades of experience in manufacturing, and but we are limiting ourselves to large production because we are a tool-based process. And by unlocking that towards additive, to have design freedom, no tools, we are adding the agility, customization. We are by far better positioned to embed us in the supply chains of our customers. So really to enable a true digital manufacturing, and that was the main driver for us. On the other side, I think the market opportunities, which are quite small on large scale business, mainly automotive and some others, are quite limited. And here we are unlimiting ourselves also for other markets. And that's quite an exciting journey. Yes, building on the digital capabilities we have already.
Very good, very good. Francois, what about you?
Well, in terms of opportunities in additive manufacturing, we see it this way, that additive manufacturing, as all of you know, exists since more than 20 years today. However, it has been limited in these first 20 years in prototyping and small series. And it's only since a few years that it's starting to be used in really bigger series getting out of the jigs, fixtures, and prototype application, and still there's a very little maturity in this market. So if you look at the whole industry, like it's a 10 billion more or less industry today, and if you compare to the complete manufacturing industry, which is like 12 trillion, we see a huge untapped potential for additive manufacturing. And that's the opportunity out there. And then, of course, we need to work together. I mean, with several people around this table on overcoming the hurdles of adoption, which are the cost of the equipment, the cost of parts, the cost of the products also, and especially the lack of know-how to design them, which is for me one of the biggest hurdles, is how to make sure people use it for the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you hit on something very interesting, though. What are the resistance points in terms of adoption? And I would agree that from our perspective, awareness in the market is one of the bigger challenges. But Philippe, you bring an interesting perspective on this. As you think about the opportunity in additive manufacturing, I think you come from a little bit different angle than Industry 4.0. Would you share your perspective?
Yeah, exactly. We are coming from the TV and video industry, and our key competencies are around, let's say, securing digital assets and the global workflow in this industry. And we developed, in fact, two real key pillars in terms of skills and know-how, which are, let's say, embedded and online security and advanced data solutions management. And we believe that, those two pillars, those two key assets makes really sense in the Industry 4.0 domain, more globally and more specifically in additive manufacturing. So it's the reason why we decided to enter in this space, to leverage the skill we developed in the TV and video domain in this new area. As I said, we are part of the Orange Group. And within Orange Group, there is the Orange Business Services, and obviously they have a business unit related to Industry 4.0. So we contribute to the global effort to the group towards this new area.
Super fascinating kind of angle, because I think, especially given the dynamics with people being locked in their houses for long periods of time, I think we've all come to appreciate how fast the industry of streaming content, which is held as incredibly valuable IP, has been scaled globally around the world. So really, really excited to have you in this conversation and your collaboration, as we'll talk about a little bit later in the discussion.
Thank you, sir.
So maybe for the next question, let's say, what excites you most about additive manufacturing today? And within that, maybe some thoughts on, what you see as some of the biggest opportunities or major trends. Guido, maybe we can start with you on that one.
Yeah, I think I would pick a bit the point what Francois made before. If I see the opportunities we have in additive compared to other major businesses, that excites me. As you know, we have in our core process, which is developed for decades, you talk about improvements and you are happy if you have an improvement of 0.1%. Yes, right. Cost-wise, quality-wise, you're really celebrating that. Yes, and if I compare this with additive manufacturing, which for some people seems to be quite an old technology, but it's compared to all the others a young technology. And the improvement steps we see as a business are just huge. And this is not just cost. It's we talked about materials. We talked about the digital solutions to make it accessible and easy integrated in the supply chain system, as mentioned before. These are just opportunities we have, and that excites me, my team, and our business most for sure. The other piece is that with this technology, you're not limited to a market, to an application. Yes, you have all the freedom. And also what we discussed before is the people. Yes, if I compare how many people are grown up with this additive mindset, who consider additive as a product, as an opportunity to manufacture, I don't know what the right figure is. It's maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 20%. I cannot judge, but I think there's plenty of room for improvement. And that excites me most in our business, the opportunities we have, right?
Yeah, you know, imagine if that whole potential audience had that awareness and capability, what might start happening in the world. Francois, what about you? The kind of a different angle again.
Yes, I mean, possibly. I mean, what personally excites me about the industry is it's extremely dynamic. There's a lot of new like every week there would be a new technology out there, new potential way of printing. And then we need to, you know, as a material supplier, we need to check, is this the one of the future? Is this something we need to invest or not? It's moving all the time. And also we're working with a lot of startups, which is also quite exciting. I'm coming from a startup myself. I did my startup in manufacturing powders, so I really enjoy that. And we also work with big companies, and also the sectors can be from, you know, dental to aerospace, drones. You know, it's crazy, all the different industries which are actually potentially, potential customers for this technology. And what excites me also is that the biggest opportunity out there might be coming from places we don't expect them to come. You know, so that's really something really interesting, and you need to be very broad in your approach and looking, because maybe the next big thing is coming from a small startup somewhere, and that's really an exciting thing.
And we've definitely seen that happen. You know, one of our biggest customers is focused on dental aligners that are done direct with consumers. And this was something that had been done to some degree, but it had never been done so directly in kind of a different business model. And I think that's the other thing that we see, is that along with new technology capabilities, that in turn interacts with new business model opportunities. And then with all these forces now that we see with how healthcare is going to be delivered, how education is going to be delivered, as we're experiencing right now. I don't know about the rest of you, but in my house right now, I have 3 or 4 people on Zoom right now. Everything is changing. So I think it's going to be a very rich area of opportunity. Now, in the context of today's discussion, though, there's also major challenges. So maybe, you know, let's focus on what are some of the major challenges, and maybe in the context of also your partners and your customers. And let's start with Karsten. We haven't heard from you for a little while.
Yeah, thanks. And I agree to many of the statements from the colleagues here. I think additive is one of the first digital native technology, and we've seen a lot of these proof points in the last years. We've seen a lot of first application. I probably think the full audience is convinced about that additive gives all these advantages. What is the challenge? The challenge currently is that we are at a tipping point from these tech centers into really large serial industrial production. We for example, in Siemens, we have our first production built up 10 years ago and started, and now it's full in operation for metal parts in the Siemens energy business. And then you are through, then it's just about productivity, efficiency, and scaling. But to get this step for the different technologies, for the polymers, for the composite materials, for the different technology, I think this is a challenge. And 3 areas I would like to mention, which come then into play. And this is efficiency, its quality, and its cost at the end of the parts. Yes, we can all design these bionic grade structures. At the end, we need to manage the production costs. We need to manage a robust production, machine-to-machine comparability, and robust quality assurance. And the full workflow needs to be efficient. Totally, a lot of tech centers are working with 20, 30 different software tools, for example. And always we start to engage with them. They learn with, for example, our approach with an end-to-end integrated solution. You gain a lot of efficiency. So you move into a range that you can start to earn money with additive. And I think there's some homework to do from the community to scale it now to a real industry level manufacturing technology.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that really struck me the first time I went to meet with Siemens was, you know, a demonstration of the full end-to-end capability from the point of beginning to think of an idea to maybe simulating an idea to thinking about how you're going to do manufacturing and how you're going to get all the machines to work together, how you're going to automate and ultimately get good products out the other side, all with the digital information flowing all the way through. It's absolutely amazing what you guys do. So I think if there's challenges in those areas, you guys are very well positioned to help start moving the industry forward. Guido, what about you? How do you think about this?
Yeah, it's, you know, I think first of all, we need to distinguish between really low volume or prototyping business, which was pretty much the history, or still, I think, the biggest portion of the market, where it's really the digital environment. As I said, integration, it's speed, it's also cost and quality for sure. But I think this market is more or less well settled. I think the challenge is really, like Carsten said, with the production, to scale it. That's also our ambition, to move in that space. And sometimes I ask myself, you know, all these new fancy machines, all these new digital solutions, new materials, every day it feels we have another solution which could be slightly better. And you know, and then we have the chicken and egg story. We have too many small players, too many small solutions and new solutions. But to have a reasonable scale or production, you need to have a cost base, which is just possible by scaling a business. And I think that's where I personally see the dilemma, to have a consistent process in place and also trust at the customer. You know,
Yeah.
there are so many customers around, some good customers who have started with additive departments already many years ago and really well educated, but there are so many customers, they do not have the trust in the technology. And it's so much, it's real hard work to convince the customer that this is a good and stable and robust process and we should just start. And here we come back again to the people, yes, to the young engineers who have that experience. So it's a bit a circle, I feel sometimes. And you know, additive is, I told it last time to a colleague, it's like a roller coaster, yes? And you have to like a roller coaster to be in that business, because you have these great days where you have great experience and learnings, and then the other day, it's, yeah, no one is accepting it in terms of cost and quality and so on. So yeah, I think the challenge is with reducing cost, building trust on that market.
You know, it's funny, the way I've always talked about this is it seems like it takes forever and then it seems to happen overnight. And the analogy I think of is things happening in the cloud. I mean, forever I remember everybody saying, oh, no, this will never be on the cloud. That will never be on the cloud. It's not secure enough. It's not this, it's not that. And yet over time, the technology starts to achieve all of its, you know, requirements, and the adoption starts to happen, and then it really starts to take off. Francois? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, maybe I had another point. You know, and the dilemma is that sometimes you see manufacturing sites where you have 20, 30, 40 machines, but 10 or 15 different models. Yes, how can you utilize such a machine? Yes, if one system is not compatible with the other, and that's also.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll get into that a little bit in the next question too. So, Francois?
Well, you know, I think my colleagues answered already to most of the challenges that we are all facing. I mean, one thing certainly is the lack of know-how of design for additive manufacturing, and really coming with the right parts to be printed. And the fact is, if you take a part which is currently injected molded and then say, I want to do this in 3D printing, it's not the right approach. And also need to not only design for additive manufacturing, but also thinking for it. So maybe breaking, you know, the teams are today, many companies organized in one team working on one part, another team working on another part.
Right.
Maybe additive manufacturing can do the whole thing in once, you know. So And this is a difficult challenge, is identifying the right way, the right approach at our customers. And the second one, yes, is once you have identified and that you have a project and that there's a good use case, is getting all the elements together, the right printer, the right post-processing. Then for plastics, you need sometimes some specific coatings, some specific chemical treatments, all coming from different suppliers, with different, and the level of experience on this is not that high actually. So everybody's learning, and it takes time to install. That's a big challenge.
Kind of to Guido's point, it's simultaneously super fun, super exciting, and also very difficult. And one of the things we learned, some of you may have heard, we did a big exercise of adopting this technology within our own company. And one of the most important things that we learned was the roles of design engineering and manufacturing engineering, or design for manufacturing, or those kind of competencies. They really need to be much more integrated to take advantage of the full value of this technology. And so it really is, getting these corporate behaviors to start changing. And I think that new generations will come in with different mindsets, and these things will evolve over time. But I think more integrative interaction is probably going to be one of the critical things. So new technology adoption can be challenging. I think we are establishing that pretty well. What are some of you doing to lower the barriers to entry? Karsten, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, Scott, you just mentioned your own development, use your own dog food, how we should always say, print the printer. And one big measure to lower this barrier, I think, is partnerships. We need to make it easier for the end user, that different disciplines, different companies need to work closely together. And there I always remember how we started as well with HP, with the famous called air duct product, where we combine the best software solutions with your requirements in the printer to better cool the print head. And by that, if we think it from the end-to-end application and from a value-driven application, and then combine the integration between software, end-to-end digital thread, seamlessly connected with the machine, already discussing with the material partners like BASF, and then bundle it together in an end-to-end solution, this makes it much more easy to use, easy to scale, and more efficiently. And the second thing is, the market for classical production is so huge compared to additive. We need to educate our customers as an additive community. For example, we in Siemens, we have built up this experience center where we guide every week 5 to 10 workshops with customers to learn and to take them at the hand for the transformation into additive manufacturing. This is not an easy step. It's very disruptive for a lot of companies. So educating, helping them, showing the value, explaining, and then guiding them into the journey, this is, I think, essential for all the companies. And here, partnerships is of utmost essence to make this successful.
Very, very well said. Francois, what's your take?
Well, what we're doing to lower barriers to entry, I think one thing that you're saying, Karsten, is very good, is partnerships. We are really partnering with actors all along the value chain, and especially machine manufacturers. And matter of fact, I was having a call just before with some of your colleagues, Scott, on future materials. But it's very important to have this partnership between all the actors in the value chain to offer solutions which are not only more affordable in terms of TCO, but better processable, better processing, easier to handle. And of course, what we're doing as a material company, we are developing materials for a lower cost. That's the whole idea, to drive industrialization of additive manufacturing. The cost per part at the end will be a very important factor. So we are doing our work on this, and we will announce soon some new products. We already did announce some products together with you guys, polypropylene. But that's the main thing. And the second thing, what we're doing is not only providing materials, but providing full solutions to customers. I mean, we don't sell machines, but we go with our customers and take them by the hand and just develop the full solution with them, thanks to our technical centers where we have all the different technical possibilities to print, and we have an internal service bureau. So if people need some pre-series, then we do the first small series.
Very good.
Yeah.
Philippe, maybe again from a different angle, what's your take?
Yeah, for us, what we are able to bring is in fact to reuse all the assets we already have.
Yeah.
Guido was mentioning the digitalization of manufacturing. You were mentioning the move to the cloud. Everybody knows on this webinar that it's what occurred in the video industry. This massive move to the cloud, to streaming, etc. So in this space, we developed technologies, we develop expertise, we develop tools in order, let's say, to master this complexity and to protect the assets, protect the IP, address the question of integrity, how to mitigate attacks, hacks, etc., how to prepare measures in order when there is a compromised component somewhere. And so it's really a matter of, for us, reusing all the techniques and technologies, processes we developed, in the digitalization process of video in the additive manufacturing area. And when we look at the evolution of the business, in fact, really the streaming started to grow in terms of volumes, etc., when most of companies have mastered those questions. And so we consider that, addressing this question globally of security on many different aspects is really something which is mandatory in order, let's say, for the business to grow. It's as simple as that.
Very good, very good. And it's so fascinating to look at a technology that is scaled so globally and so broadly, and what that will be able to do for this industry. Maybe we should just, talk for a minute about any recent advancements or things that are happening in your companies that you want to share. Karsten, maybe we can start with you. Would you like to provide an update?
Yeah, just the update from the last weeks. I actually I attended a tech conference this weekend, and I spoke about a pretty cool development we have achieved in the polymer area. You may know in metal we are full set, having productions running in Siemens Energy, but on the polymer side this was something new, and we teamed up with a startup company, Hexar, and it's about individualized cycling helmets. And the coolest thing is because it's an end-to-end experience you have from an end user iPhone app where you scan your head, transform your head into the cloud, and then everything happens somewhere in the cloud, subtracting, with meshing, with planning, then printing this stuff, and 3-4 weeks later you get your individualized helmet. And this really shows you that this kind of stuff is not possible with injection molding, and it's so fascinating because it's very practical at the end for everybody to experience. This was an interesting example. Actually, if somebody of the community is still interested, we started a raffle and for 10 of these helmets. So you still can win one of these. Just look on my LinkedIn post accordingly. And the other one is we're working on other consumer products like midsole production with very complex lattice structures, combining as well with all the post-processing, with the pre-processing, with the printing machine. And we just, during Formnext, we have opened a virtual AM factory producing 200,000 of these midsoles in a very complex, very high variant combination. And this is something, once more, we educate, we work with our customers, and we have now factory planning in our team. So we can plan a digital twin of a complete factory. And the result of that are product costs, CapEx, OpEx, number of employees. And with this, I think this is a really big step forward to helping the industry now to plan the bigger production areas for additive as well on the polymer side.
Very cool. Guido, how about you?
Yeah, I would love to talk also about some production opportunities. Now we will have we have a couple of ramp ups in front of us, really exciting products. But unfortunately, I'm not allowed as we are just a manufacturer. We need to wait for the official market launch. However, no, really exciting stuff coming up next year. So what are we? Or the last couple of months, I think it was really in light of integrating Forecast 3D. I mentioned it at the beginning. We had the luck to have Forecast 3D on board. It's a Californian company in Carlsbad. It's just an incredible team. It's really passionate people with more than 20 years of experience. Really great, and I think one of the key partners for MJF from early days for HP. No, it was an exciting journey because two different worlds came together. Yes, more the grown-up business out of agile business as a design bureau, and we as the elephant, or like the large global corporation. And I think what we learned in these last couple of months during integration was just phenomenal. And I think we did quite well in integration. We have now common systems. We have really well described the processes. We feel that we are ready to expand. And that was our original plan, not just to stay where we are, one plant in Germany, one in California. We are now expanding. And what we will do first in the first quarter is to expand to Detroit area with MJF, and later also to Germany. And I think that's really now a step where we hope, and at least we are prepared, we hope to gain the right customer interest to move into production in that space. I think that's on the polymer side, our plan, and we are really excited about that. On the metal side, we are doing good progress on a project called EDAM. It's a funded project in Germany. I think most of you or many of you know. We are more or less half through, and this is all about preparing a laser AM, metal laser AM for serious production, to have a digital twin in place, to have a highly automated plant. And here we see now first things growing. We see the hardware coming up, and also from the digital side again, yes, we see some good progress. So I think next year will be the year where there's a shift from still growing prototype business, but overlaying with by far bigger growth in production.
Very good, very good. Francois, what's happening in the world of material science?
Well, what happened especially for us in 2020 is, I mean, we introduced many new materials. I think I cannot count them, but I think we introduced more than 20 new materials during the year.
Wow.
One of very important one, because you're here, Scott, of course, is the PP for HP. But also we reinforced our product range for liquid formulation, UV. And I really believe this technology is also getting more and more traction, because the cost per part that you can achieve with technology is quite good, and we are bringing the chemistry to a next level where you can get really good mechanical parts. So a lot of really new product launch, and I'm really excited about the product pipeline we have. So what we have done also is put in place some method to accelerate product development, and we will be launching only in Q1 more than 10 new products, few powders, and all with the goal to accelerate industrialization. So it's all with the goal to go to industrial applications, higher mechanical properties, but also at cost down, and to bring the TCO down. but also improving processing, which is sometimes to have a lower cost and better processing is sometimes, and higher mechanical properties, it's sometimes quite tricky, but we're getting there. And additionally to this, we are developing also, and we will be announcing soon some technical center opening in different regions in the world to support our customers locally. So quite exciting times coming in Q1 next year also.
Very good. Very good. Okay. I think we'll shift direction a little bit, and maybe it's kind of a two-part question. One leads into the next. But you know, we've talked a lot about the challenges of adoption and scaling and all of that kind of stuff. Talked about removing barriers. What about standards? This is something that, you know, we saw in the early industries for the PC business, for printing and things like that. How do you see the role of standards in this space? And then maybe more specifically, how does that relate to formats and alternatives to STL, like 3MF format? Maybe we'll start with Guido.
Yeah, sure. You know, we are not a software business, and but we like digital, and we are a business we develop product solutions, we manufacture. But what for us was crucial from day one is to have a digital chain. You can call it a digital twin, technology-wise, but also production-wise. And our mission is we want to have from the customer order to delivery really one closed chain. We started developing this already a couple of years ago, and we are quite advanced, but what hurts us most of the time was the different data formats. Yes, to translate from one system into another, you have to translate the data formats up and down. And this was really, if I would look back, this cost us tons of money. Looking forward, and then the business was growing. You added some traceability features in, you added some quality features in, and then some product-specific features, and then you always created new satellites, and the system was getting more and more complex. To have the chance to have one data format which contains all of that, yes, as much as information possible. I don't know how we should call it, a master data file, or I don't know, but to have this in place would make life by far easier for us. Yes, because we see constantly, we have not two different chains besides, so a technical chain and a logistics or also a financial chain. If we could combine that, this would be just perfect.
Yeah, and then it just starts opening up, you know, all the different ways that we need to unlock the flow so that things can really start to scale. Now, going back to this question on standards, Philippe, maybe with your experiences, maybe put some emphasis on the standards question itself, and then how you look at 3MF.
Yeah, you know, I said we are part of a telecom operator. You won't ever see a telco launching 5G, 6G, whatever, if standardization is not there. If standards are not approved, you know, it's a real condition in any industry for people to invest and to put capex, etc. To put money on things, you must be confident in the perennity of choices. You must have, let's say, the trust in the technologies, in the fact that it will scale, in the fact that you'll get the best you can expect, and you'll have interoperability between different systems, etc. So I think it's really key for any industry. And as we said, this industry is a complex one with many different actors. So standards are let's say there to guarantee the end-to-end and the capability to deliver. On the Viaccess-Orca side, we are taking our part of that, being a member of the 3MF, and in June this year, we issued the secure content specification describing, let's say, requirements, let's say, for an end-to-end security solution. And we are proud to be the first to have today a solution, a product which is compliant with this requirement. So we believe in standards. We contribute to build those standards, and we implement the standards.
You know, this really gets to some of the comments that were made earlier about awareness, scaling, and it's really great for us to have this opportunity to help the audience know about developments like what Viaccess-Orca is doing. Let's maybe stop for a second and just talk about 3MF. HP obviously takes this very seriously. In fact, one of our senior leaders, Luis Valdez, has taken on the role of being the executive director of the 3MF Consortium. Karsten, can you talk a little bit about why you guys joined the consortium?
Yeah, and Guido already mentioned everybody is struggling with the STL format and with inconsistency in the data format. So Siemens, from our software side, was one of the 16 founding members from the first day of the 3MF consortium, and we supported this. However, I have to say, and thanks for bringing this topic up, you mentioned awareness. Before this meeting, when you invited me with this concept, I asked my people, okay, well, what's going on with 3MF? I don't hear anything. It's not so aware. I don't read. It's not discussed at conferences. So I called up Luis, and good to have him now in the director position for this consortium. I asked my team, and I was amazed what was achieved. There's an open source kit. There's extensions for lattice, for material, for production. It's a lower file size by a factor 5. I was amazed. I didn't know that before. And actually we talked before this conference, what should be our call for action? And it was pretty similar, just go ahead and use it. And I think this is something we should improve and ask Luis now to take as one of his priority after having all this great stuff in the consortium developed. Now bring it to the community and make it aware, talk about it, that more and more people implement this in their chain. Otherwise, it will not be a standard. Therefore, it was a great idea to bring it up in a conference like this. Thanks for that, Scott.
Great. Philippe, how about you? Why did you join the consortium itself?
Yeah. You know, we discussed this question of standards. I think it was Francois mentioning the importance of partnerships, etc.
Yeah.
And we found in 3MF the opportunity to work on those two dimensions. You know, how to bring standards to the market, and how to extend, let's say, the number of partners we were working with, and to network and exchange. You know, in our telco industry and in VO today, we have more than 100 partners in our TV ecosystem, you know. And, you know, you can't be in this business without having partners. And I'm very pleased to be here with my colleagues, because we are starting, let's say, to constitute this ecosystem of companies able, let's say, to deliver the global solutions.
So taking that now and building on it, the question is, and the issue is, what's it going to take to scale 3MF in the additive manufacturing industry? And Karsten, maybe we can start with you, but I think this is a broad question.
Yeah, indeed. I think I already mentioned some of the topics already, and Philippe mentioned as well. Without standard, it will not scale as an additive solution, and therefore this kind of 3MF format is pretty good. It's well set, so the foundation is great. We have all the big companies, different software provider, different companies. We have a lot of associated partner, machine builder. So the foundation to have an overcritical mass of companies supporting it, I think this is done. It's developed, as I learned in the last weeks, pretty much. And now it's about educating, talking about it, bringing it into the world. And then we need to look on what is the value add, like Guido mentioned, how much money do you save if you use 3MF? What kind of better traceability, quality, what kind of lower defect rate? And I think we need to search for these success stories, give it back to Philippe and Luis, that they can talk about the value of 3MF. So this is bringing really value into the chain, but we need to show what is really the value in the business cases or in the quality to convince probably the community or the industry on that.
Really good points. Philippe, what's your thoughts now that you come from a place where you've seen scale happen numerous times? What are some tips that you might offer us as a team to look at scaling 3MF?
Probably two. I think it's always important to have the customer in the room, and probably 3MF could expand membership to customers, to service bureau, etc., so that we have the voice of the customer inside. I think it's a way, let's say, to ensure that we are going in the right direction and answering the right questions and topics. So it's one thing. Second, we see globally in the industry that requirement specifications are great, but more and more we have to prove, we have to demonstrate. You know, in many domains now, you don't bring a piece of paper, you bring a code, you bring an app to demonstrate something, prove a concept, etc. And so probably we could consider, let's say, to have a kind of certification program, a kind of 3MF inside label, something like that, so that it's not only theory, it's not only on paper, but real implementations, real integrations. And we know that complexity and cost comes from complex integration. And if 3MF is able, let's say, to guarantee that this integration is done, it's a way to fasten the deployment and adoption. So probably those two axes, customers in the room, and the question of, let's say, pre-integration or certification somewhere.
Yeah, and I think it was said well that, you know, the consortium's been very successful in getting a lot of the players in the chain engaged and participating in the consortium. But to your point, now it comes down to use, and use probably starts with awareness. So this forum gives us one opportunity, but I think maybe we also need to issue something of a challenge. Maybe we would just ask everybody, if you haven't tried 3MF to see what the benefits are, give it a try and see what it does for your company. So with that, I think we're going to start switching over to a little bit of Q&A. I think we have some questions coming in, so my eyes are going to start moving around. I've tried very hard to stay very focused on the camera this whole time, but now I think this will shift a little bit. We probably won't be able to get to all of the questions, so if we don't answer your question specifically, we will make sure that somebody follows up. And then for the gentleman in our chat today, I'm just going to ask the question, and then please everybody just dive in and respond as you wish, and I will as well. If it seems like I'm not getting the attention to you, feel free to wave at me and we'll manage it that way. So with that, let's see what we've got. One of the things that's being asked is, you know, what are some tips that we would offer in terms of solving the barrier to entry issue for OEMs, you know, across different industries to adopt additive manufacturing? And maybe I'll just open it up. I think we have a wide variety of people with opinions here. Who would like to go first?
Yeah, maybe myself.
Very good.
Yeah, I touched this point already. I think, you know, these large OEMs are pretty much cost-driven. There's also a lot of innovation in, but we need to find the right entrance point. Yes, if we start using additive as replacement technology for others, we fail. I think that's what we learned now since a couple of years. We need to build a trust. And to build trust, you need to have the experience. So that means if the OEMs, sometimes you need to be brave and just take one part. Yes, even if it is commercially not the right thing, but to build experience. And then it's people. Yes, we talk about people, to have people at the customer who have additive understanding, who drives more the design additive. These are simple words, but it is as simple as it is. And that's it. That's my view.
All right. Anybody else?
If I may add some words here, do not look only on the what, look as well on the how. And as many companies learned, it's not about making a 5-year plan on how you scale additive in your company. This just don't work. It's about getting a small team. It's very experimental. You need to have this disruptive mindset. You need to empower then a small team to really experiment with this. After finding first applications, this will grow. You need to invest in the education, in the design capabilities of your people, and you need to be open to the external ecosystem, connect to partners. Don't invent everything by yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technologies out there, value-add service from different kind of companies. So don't try to reinvent the wheel is something as well, which is very important. Sometimes people start in a closed room to develop something, and you would say, okay, in some of the experts probably in this round would have talked to them earlier, this would be much faster. So team up in the ecosystem, be open to collaboration is very essential to look on the how you step into additive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fully share what Carsten is saying. In any digitalization process, it's not only a matter of technologies, it's a matter of skills and of processes transformation. And you need to start small and to learn and then to grow. So I think it's very, very, very good practice.
Very good.
Yeah,
Francois, anything you want to add for materials?
Yeah, maybe something to add, not only for materials, but in general in the process of adopting it is it's not checking, oh, how can I make this part? And it's rather asking the customer, okay, actually, what do you want to do? What does this part do in which ensemble, in which assembly? And let's think together what's the best use of it. And actually, sometimes it's just opening the door to experts like we have in-house and Siemens have in-house and GK. And so there's a lot of experts who are ready to come in and support in doing this. And sometimes something you would not expect, I have an example, we cannot cite the customer, but it's quite striking that they were doing some parts in wood cutting. And we told them, but guys, but this is a lot of wood cutting and assembly, etc. Doing it with additive, and it's one part, and no assembly anymore. And you can't do that if you don't open the door to designers and to show them your process. And I think that's what's important.
The other thing I would add from our own experience driving adoption in HP that really made a difference, there's a few things. One was that we had a bit of a top-down mandate that we really need to be challenging ourselves to see where this technology can fit. And in our case, that came from the CEO. It can come from different levels. But what that also did is that empowered the directors, the managers, the people at different levels to take a little bit of risk and feel like they can try this new technology. Because for many engineers, new technology, something that's unknown, represents some risk. So I think one of the key things is being open to that. The other thing I would add is be aware of the suppliers that are around, and if you need help finding suppliers that can help as an OEM, like in HP, we do a lot of our manufacturing through supply partners. We in this group reach out to any of us and we can help you find people with different levels of expertise or areas of competence. There's a lot to it, but in the end, I would say the biggest thing is awareness and mindset. in the organization from management as well as from the engineering teams. I think we have time for maybe one more question, and I think this one is going to be an interesting one because it's simultaneously simple and also very complex and nuanced. So the question is, what are the largest cost drivers to 3D printing? Is it still materials or is it something else? And I'm going to open it up. I'm not going to point to anybody in particular.
Well,
who would like to start?
As you mentioned materials, I need to answer first.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, I kind of thought so too.
And we do a lot of TCO calculation, total cost of ownership for part, and we actually see on average, and of course it depends the technology, depends the materials and the size of the part, but on average it's 30, 30, 30. 30 material, 30 machine, and 30 post-processing. Post-processing meaning the manual work or the painting or the. So it's really 30, 30, 30. So there's no one bigger than the other. Of course, some applications will have one.
It'll vary. Sure.
It will vary, but I think all of us are doing a lot of work in driving this down by having more productive machines like the 5200 you just launched, lower cost materials, automatized post-processing which are launched. So at the moment it's accelerating, and I'm amazed to see, when you see 20 years ago it was one part, it would be okay to do 1 to 10, and then it would be better to do molding. 5 years ago it was maybe still 100 to 1,000. Today, talking about series of 100,000 or 1 million is the project we're working on. I mean, this is not, so it's exponential.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And when you have multiple disciplines all starting to focus on one area of the problem, like coming from design and thinking about design and material optimization and things like that, there's things that come together and have a force multiplier effect in driving cost out. Other folks, what about your opinions?
Yeah, maybe I jump in next. Thanks
Sure.
for opening the cost discussion on materials and machines. We as a manufacturer, I like this. I have to blame the cost on materials and machines. However, I think it's really this chicken leg. It's all about scale. I think it's Francois, it's a discussion. Yes, it is 30% material, 30% post-processing machine. Yeah, I share that view. But my question is really, how could it look like? And I think the scale of the market is so small on your side, on powders. If I compare potentially the portion of additive materials with the whole business of BASF and others, it's rather small. So that means my question is really, how could it look like at scale? The same for the machine manufacturers. Yes, how could it look like at scale? And I think there are so many of opportunities if we compare with other markets. And then I think one important part is, in other businesses, you buy a machine and you use the machine 10 years, 15 years, whatever. In our area, in additive, every 3 years you get a better machine. You get and it's not just that the machine is faster, also the consumption of materials, binders and so on is better. So that means we have to write off the machines in a by far smaller period, and this also drives cost. And then what I mentioned before, finally, you have a museum of 10 different machines, but to utilize a larger fleet at 60, 70, 80%. Many people say, wait, just 60% or 70%? But I would love to see a manufacturing site which is running 30 machines at 90%, because it's just not possible as a business is so volatile. So yeah, I think we should be a bit more critical to ourselves in terms of cost. I think there's more room for improvement.
There definitely is. Sorry, Karsten, you're going to say something?
I can agree that there's a lot of improvement levers. If you just mentioned, I mentioned this cycling helmet. I bought it for 300 pounds, which is pretty expensive, but still, and 1,000, 2,000 of these helmets are produced. We made a study. What would happen if we produce in a fully automated production line 100,000 of these helmets? And we came down by 70 to 80% in cost reduction if we combine everything all in. And this is a scale of material and machine economy, as well as automating, better, clever use of the machines, it's post-processing, and it's optimizing the full workflow. And this shows me by our colleagues from Siemens Advanta, there's big room for improvement to gain economy of scale in the next years. And it's not a surprise. Each new technology in the world is not introduced cheaper than any other. It's always introduced by adding value, but with an additional price tag. And this is not surprise. It's just a question, how far do we come down to really target the injection molding or other technologies? But I think the colleagues, new machines, better machines, faster systems, there's a big room, and in 5 years, we will be surprised how far the costs came down by all of us working on this topic in the next years.
And the trends that now will be force multipliers to see that increase exponentially. I definitely agree. And I would love to talk on this topic a lot longer, because when you think about the full supply chain, there's a lot of potential additional areas that people tend to overlook, but I think we'll have to dive into that deeper on another day. Our time has come to an end. I want to respect people's time to get on to the rest of their day. I want to thank everyone for your engagement and questions. We will make sure all the responses go out offline. A replay of this session will be available on the event webpage within the next few hours if you care to revisit or want to share it with a colleague. Also, friendly reminder that the final session, titled Discovering the New Elastomer for Flexible Applications, where we will highlight a bunch of real-world use cases for our newest elastomeric TPA material, is coming up in about 2 hours. You don't want to miss that. Thank you very much to our panelists today. Really appreciate you all coming together. Really enjoyed the discussion, and as always, wish we could have more time, but I think we've hit our limit. So thank you all very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Yep, we're off.